If you want a small family car which feels as posh as a luxury car, you'll need something German, something like one of these.
But which should you choose between the new Mercedes A-Class, the BMW 1 Series, or the Audi A3? Yeah, these three cars are designed to prove that when it comes to impressing your friends, size doesn't matter.
To find out which is the best, I'm going to critique their designs.
Yeah, sporty.
Check out their technology.
Go away, please.
Compare how practical they are.
So it's this much larger.
And finally, I'm going to see what they're like to drive.
I'm quite impressed, actually. It's nice.
Let's move on to design.
Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of the way the BMW 1 Series looks. Its design is kind of a bit polarising. However, this one does look cool, and that's because being the M Sport Shadow Edition, it's got some styling upgrades. So it's got some more aggressive bumpers, you've got a black grille, you've got performance brakes with blue calipers, and some black exhaust pipes. Yeah, sporty.
This A-Class is in its poshest looking trim too. It's called AMG line and includes larger wheels and lower suspension.
I think this new A-Class is a really smart looking car for a hatchback, which generally tend to look a bit like boxes on wheels. I'm not so sure about the red paint though. It looks better in white, grey or black. I do like the sleek headlamps though, the pin grille and the big Mercedes badge. And it's for that reason that most people will want this car.
Having four rings on your grille has pretty much the same cachet as a star. So what's the Audi's curb appeal like?
The A3 has always been a very sensible yet stylish hatchback, and it looks good in this sport version, which is the mid equipment level. If you get the range topping S line, it looks even better, and that car has pulsating indicators. This particular car that I've got here has these lovely roof rails, which kind of, when you have the sportback version, which is Audi parlance for 5-door, makes it look like one of those stylish lifestyle estates.
Now you may think it's a little unfair to compare a mid-specification Audi with a top-specification Mercedes and BMW. However, in this review I'm actually comparing each car's entire range rather than these particular individual cars. And overall, the A-Class is the best looking model here. And that brings us onto how they compare on the inside.
One thing BMW does really well is build solid interiors, so everything feels really well screwed together, nice and sturdy. Obviously being BMW's cheapest car, things are built down to a price, so there are some cheap plastics about the place, which is a shame because some of the materials on the dash feel really, really expensive. Speaking of the dash, well, it's supposed to look sporty. This M Sport version with the sporty steering wheel is even more so, but the design is just starting to show its age now. It feels a little bit bland, a little bit boring. In terms of the infotainment system, you get a 6-inch screen as standard. It's nice and bright, easy to use. This swivel wheel controller is dead easy to operate while you're driving, which is great. Oh, look down here, actually. Just notice, this car has a handbrake. That shows how old this car actually is. Most modern cars now have electronic handbrakes.
For instance, this Audi has an automatic handbrake, yet it's still no spring chicken.
It's quite impressive when you think about this car has been around for quite a while now, yet it feels fresh as a daisy here on the inside. Audi does great quality interiors, and even this small car has a lovely, lovely feel to it. The design is simple, it's easy to use, it's smart, it's clean, it's clinical, it's everything you expect from an Audi. The infotainment system's good as well, nice and easy to use, and this one has the upgraded virtual cockpit with digital dials for the drive, and you can change the view of that and operate most of the car's functions through that. So if you don't like this kind of pop-up screen here, you can just tuck it away out of sight and just use this for all infotainment and driving information. Yeah, it's lovely.
The big question is though, can the Merc's interior compete with that of the impeccable Audi? Well, it doesn't get off to the best start.
The inside of this new Mercedes A-Class isn't quite perfect, and I'll point out a few things that I'm not so keen on right now. For instance, that nice cheap bit of plastic here and this button here. Yeah, that's really nasty feeling. This bank of switches kind of moves if you press it, though you probably won't be doing that much in real life. I just thought I'd point it out to you. I'm also not keen on the indicator stalk. It just feels cheap and nasty. Other than that though, I love this car's interior. First of all, there's the design. I like the two-step dash. The materials on the dash themselves, nice and squidgy, feel expensive, as does this rather lovely piece of aluminium there. I like the way that the air vents are like turbines, and look, if you look closely, you can see that there's ambient lighting in them. That's a really cool feature. So too is the fact that you get the same steering wheel that you do in the range-topping S-Class here in Mercedes' cheapest car. I really like that. I also like the new voice recognition system, which is a bit like Google. It's connected to the internet and it's really, really clever. So you activate it by going, "Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Can you go away, please?
What is your destination?
Go away, please." There we go. It gets the message eventually. So yeah, it's designed to actually understand normal speech, and it's generally pretty good. The best thing about this car though is this, the infotainment display. So as standard, you get two screens, one 7-inch here and one 7-inch for the driver, which has all the driving information. And I've both screens upgraded here. It's lovely, and it makes the virtual cockpit in the Audi A3 seem a little bit old-fashioned.
The system is very easy to use. You can scroll through menus on the main display using the touchscreen, the large central control pad, or buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. Meanwhile, you control the driver's display using the buttons on the right side of the steering wheel, and can even change the layout and the views. However, these larger screens come as part of a £2,400 premium pack, which also includes ambient lighting with a range of different colours. And you'll want that pack because the standard smaller screens look like this. Not so cool, huh? Another good upgrade is the augmented reality satellite navigation. For £500, it combines a forward-facing camera with a sat-nav to overlay graphics on an image of the road ahead to give clear directions as to which junction to take. It really is amazing. Either way, the A-Class comes out on top for technology and interior design. But let's move on to practicality, starting with the BMW.
It's all right here in the back of the 1 Series, and what I'm particularly pleased with is the fact that even though this car's got a really dark interior, it doesn't feel too gloomy back here because the back windows are quite large, despite the fact that this car looks reasonably sporty on the outside. The only thing that I'm missing really is a central armrest here, so it's not quite as luxurious as it could be.
This particular A3 doesn't have an armrest either. Still, that doesn't affect my opinion of it.
If I was going to get taken on a long journey and get relegated to the back seats, I would rather be in the back of this Audi than the other two cars. It just seems a little bit more spacious and comfortable back here. There ain't much in it though, not much.
So, where does the A-Class fit in? After all, this car does have a rear armrest.
It's way better here in the back of the new A-Class compared to the old car. I mean, look at me, average size adult, I'm more than fine. It's not quite as spacious as the BMW or the Audi, but not so much that it matters, unless you're going to use this as a taxi, which you're not.
You may sometimes want to carry 3 people in the back though, and in this respect the Merc isn't so good. The BMW and the Audi are a touch better, but still not ideal. Meanwhile, in all cars you'll need to slide the front passenger seat forward to fit a large rear-facing child seat. Once done, it's easy to fix the seat in the A-Class as its ISOFIX points are uncovered, while the BMW has flip-up covers and the Audi awkward pop-off ones you will probably lose. But what about when it comes to carrying stuff instead of people?
The boot on this 1 Series is... It's all right. It's nowhere near a class leader, but it'll do. You can live with that. In terms of functionality, there is not too much. You've got a bit of storage under there next to the battery if you'd want to store something there. And I've got 2-way folding rear seats, though at least they do fold down pretty flat.
This makes it easy to slide heavy items into the front of the car. Mind you, with the rear seats in their upright position, you can still get a decent amount in the BMW.
This new A-Class's boot is about this much larger than the BMW's. That is 10 litres, in case you're wondering. And it's a reasonably practical space. So I like the fact that this parcel shelf is light. Shame there's nowhere to store it in the car. You can fold down the rear seats 3 ways, which is handy. And look, you have a little bit of storage under there as well. Great.
What's also great is that the boot seems pretty wide, so there is space for 2 large suitcases side by side. However, you can actually fit slightly more stuff in the Audi, though you will need to arrange things slightly differently.
The A3 has a very well thought out practical boot, so it's this much larger than the A-Class is, and obviously twice that larger than the 1 Series. Now I can raise up the boot floor to get rid of the load lip, so that does reduce the capacity somewhat, but it's still reasonably large. And if I just remove this, you'll see that when I fold the seats down, yes, as with the others, you get a pretty much flat load floor.
So the Audi wins out when it comes to practicality. But now we come to the driving part of the review, and this is where BMWs traditionally excel.
I really like driving the 1 Series, and that's because it feels genuinely sporty to drive. Part of that is the seating position, which is brilliant. You feel really hunkered down and connected to the car. But the main reason is the fact that it's rear-wheel drive. Rear-wheel drive is like a sports car, like a racing car actually, and that means the backs can concentrate on providing the drive, the fronts concentrate on steering. In terms of the other aspects of the driving experience, well, the suspension's pretty comfy over bumps actually, which isn't bad considering this car handles well. The problem is this. Can you hear that? You get a lot of road noise, and I'm only doing 50 miles an hour. If I was doing 70, it's even worse. Also, put my foot down. This 2-litre diesel in this car, it's fast, 0 to 60 around 7 seconds, but it is quite rough. Makes some noise when you rev it out, but it gives good economy according to BMW. 60 miles per gallon, though I'm getting 42, which is, yeah, it's all right. The other engines in the range are pretty good, both the petrols and the other diesels, but I don't think they're quite as good as the engines you get in the Audi. What is better though than the Audis is the automatic gearbox. This 8-speed auto in the BMW is brilliant. The manual though, it's all right. I prefer the manual in the other 2 cars, to tell you the truth. However, if driving dynamics and a car that's fun to drive are your key priority, this is the one to go for.
If you need your BMW with extra grip, don't worry, it is available with all-wheel drive. And so too is the Audi.
Whenever I get into an Audi A3, I'm always amazed at what a great all-rounder this car is. I mean, it just does everything in terms of the way it drives. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it's sure-footed. It's not exactly sporty or fun, but it can go down a road without any fuss at all. It's great. Now this particular one I've got here actually has the adaptive suspension, so you can press a button to make it softer for more comfort, or harder for more sportiness, so it doesn't lean quite so much the car when you're going around a bend. You can actually get that with the other cars, and it does make the car feel more sophisticated. However, that adaptive suspension is not entirely necessary when you consider it's a £1,000 option. In terms of the engines, they're all good, pretty smooth, quiet, but the one in this car is my favourite. I love it, I love it, I love it. It's a 1.5 litre turbo petrol. It has 150 horsepower, can do 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, and it's smooth, it's quiet, it's nippy, and it's supposed to do 55 miles per gallon, and I'm getting almost 45. It's good, eh?
But can the same be said of the A-Class? After all, the old one wasn't that great to drive.
This Mercedes A-Class fits somewhere between the BMW and the Audi in the way that it feels to drive. So it's a little bit more sporty than the Audi, but not quite so much as the BMW. It's more comfortable than the BMW though, and it's probably a bit quieter though, not as quiet as the Audi. So we are talking very, very small differences, but you can just about notice them when you back-to-back the cars. But the important thing is, it's good, it's competent. I'm quite impressed actually, it's nice. In terms of the engines, well, not quite as good as the Audi is, pretty similar to the BMWs really. This is a 1.4 litre turbo petrol, 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds, and economy 53 miles per gallon. That's what Mercedes claim, but I'm getting 46 miles per gallon. That's really good, and it's proof that you don't have to have a diesel if you want a car that gives good economy. If you do want a diesel though, they're pretty decent, though you can find they're a little bit noisy when you put your foot down. You can get this A-Class with all-wheel drive, as well as it being front-wheel drive, and of course an automatic as well as a manual gearbox. This one is the auto. I don't think it's quite as good as the auto in the BMW, though I do like the fact that the actual controller for it is up here on the steering column, so it's easy to get to. But what I don't like about it is, as I mentioned earlier in the review, that the actual stalk feels really cheap and nasty, which is a shame really, because the rest of the driving experience feels rather premium. Finally, a Mercedes A-Class that feels like a proper Mercedes.
So then, where does all that leave us?
Well, this decision's quite hard because these cars are so closely matched. But if you want the car that's the most fun to drive, it's the BMW. The one that is most practical, it's the Audi. But it looks like they're not wanting to let me through because they're not going to like what's coming next, because the Mercedes runs the BMW close for driving, it runs the Audi close for practicality, yet it blows them both away for technology and interior design. And really, if you want the car with the biggest wow factor, it is this. And that's why the Mercedes A-Class wins this test.